Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well. Today, as we come to our word from the Word, and today that word is inquest. Inquest. Now, that word, if you really look up the definition, really has to do more with a lot of times with a coroner's report or something, getting down to the reason for someone's death. It can also be, used in the legal system a lot, an investigation, something like that. Well, here today, as we're in 2 Kings chapter 20, and I encourage you this week to go ahead and be reading because we're going to finish up 2 Kings this week. But today, looking at Hezekiah as he is sick and believes that he is going to die, and he ends up praying to the Lord. So today and tomorrow we'll be talking about this story, but today, just to notice his inquest, he's basically asking for God to investigate. And I wonder if you and I would be willing to pray what Hezekiah prayed here in these verses. So 2 Kings chapter 20, verses 2 and 3. Then he turned his face towards the wall and prayed to the Lord, saying, Remember now, O Lord, I pray, how I have walked before you in truth and with a loyal heart, and have done what was good in your sight. And Hezekiah wept bitterly. Now, as with Hezekiah as it is with any of us, he was not perfect. But it still takes a great measure of faith and commitment to the Lord to be able to say, God, I want you to investigate and look back that I have walked in truth, that I've walked and done faithfully. I wonder how many times you and I come to our prayer lives and our time of conversation with the Lord where we wouldn't pray that honestly. We might ask God for what we want and what we desire. In this a situation like this, we might ask and beg and even weep and cry for God to answer miraculously, for Him to heal and remove the sickness from us. Now, we'll find out through tomorrow, you'll find out what God says. But if you read further on down in the verses right here after this, you'll hear that God says that He heard his prayer and He saw his tears. So let that be an encouragement to you right there that God does hear our prayers and He sees the tears that fall from our eyes. But we also have to be moved on the account of faith. We have to be moved by the fact that we have done our part. That, in other words, it's not something that we deserve because of sin, but that God is maybe allowing it to happen. But we're saying, God, if there's any other way, God, can you move? It reminds me of even as Jesus was praying there in the garden to the Father, God, if there's any other way, let this cup pass from me. But if not, thy will be done. And see, that has to be at the forefront of everything that we pray, that we're seeking God's will to be done, but that we could still do it on the basis of saying, God, I have been faithful. God, I have not been perfect, but God, I have been faithful. And this is why I'm requesting this. I mean, that gets us out of praying those bold prayers. Those almost as if you're not name it and claim it, because that's not scriptural. People take that way out of context. It's now there is something if God lays and instills on your heart and shows you how it's going to be. Yes, then you claim that truth and believe it with your whole heart, and you will see it come to fruition. I mean, this is the whole mustard seed of faith that can say to that mountain, "Be moved," and it will be. So we can't say that that won't happen, but it's not just that you name anything and that God's going to do it based on you. But here Hezekiah is saying, God, investigate me. Look into my heart. Look into my past and see that I have done what needed to be done. See, I think for me, and for you probably too, that's a scary prayer. God, look into my heart and see what I've done. Look into not just what people have seen, look into my heart. And He knows our hearts. He knows the intents of our heart. But to be able to ask God, as David said quite often, search me, O God. That's something we need to be willing to do if we're ever going to move forward in our relationship with God. If we're not willing for him to show us the weak points and show us the parts, as we talked about yesterday, that refining process, if we're not willing to trust the process, then we'll never trust the God who's in charge of the process. So today, maybe our prayer needs to be, God, investigate me. God, show me the results of your investigation, of that inquest. And then, Lord, hear my prayer, hear my cry, see my tears. And we know that we serve a God who hears and sees, a God who can be trusted to do what is best for us all. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.